Hey guys, welcome back to another Top 5 Rundown. So far, pretty much all of my episodes have been talking about the top 5 best of something, the top, the elite. And this week I'm going to change it up a little bit. This week I'm going to be talking about the top 5 worst plot twists in movies. So starting off the list at number 5 is a movie that I actually love, despite the bad plot twist. M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. So Signs was M. Night Shyamalan's third movie. He really came onto the scene with The Sixth Sense, which is known as being one of the best plot twists. And then he followed that up with Unbreakable, starring Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson, which I love even more than The Sixth Sense, and I think the ending is a lot better too. But unfortunately doesn't get near as much recognition as The Sixth Sense. And Signs came out starring Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix. And Signs tells the story of Mel Gibson, who plays a pastor who has lost his faith. Joaquin Phoenix plays his brother, and he has 2 young children. And he lives on a farm, and they start to see crop circles and crop signs pop up around the area. And the movie's a really cool exploration of a unique version of an alien invasion. It's not a huge blockbuster special effects spectacle type of alien invasion. It's more of a quiet, under the radar type of alien invasion. And it's really cool. It has some scary scenes to it. All the performances are really good in the movie. But then comes the plot twist in the third act. So Mel Gibson's son has been reading this book, talking about all these theories about aliens, if they were to come to Earth, and what could be their weaknesses, and what their motivations might be. After the alien invasion has started, the next morning, all the characters wake up and everything is quiet. And unbeknownst to them, the alien invasion is over and they're all fleeing. And nobody really knows why. Then they find an alien still walking around their property and it intends to harm them. And Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix save the day with a little thing called water. Good old H2O. So we're led to believe the whole movie that these aliens are so smart that they can organize this long brewing invasion of Earth, and they send these come down and put these crop circles in the ground for navigation, and all these different things to come over and take over our planet. Yet they did not realize that their one weakness covers 80% of this planet. Kind of makes you ask a few questions. So, like I said, I still love the movie. I still watch it all the time, and I love it just as much as I did the first time when I saw it. But part of loving the movie is not asking too many questions once that plot twist comes. So, number 5 is Signs. Moving on to number 4. Number 4 is The Forgotten. Now, this was a movie that came out with Julianne Moore, and it follows the plot where she's a grieving mother for her missing son. And then suddenly everybody around her and everybody that she knows in her life claims that person, her son, never existed. Nobody knows what she's talking about. Nobody remembers her son. Everybody thinks that she's crazy. And it's a really intriguing movie. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's a really intriguing movie. And you're really on board figuring out what in the hell is going on. Why is everybody forgetting that this kid existed? Why is everybody trying to convince Julianne Moore that her son never existed? You don't really know quite what's there. Is there some ulterior motives by somebody? Is everybody just playing a joke on her? Is Julianne Moore really crazy and her son was just in her head? Any of those explanations that I just gave would have been a lot better than what we actually got at the end of the movie. So what is this big, shocking revelation? What is the reason that this young boy is forgotten by everybody? What is the reason that Julianne Moore is the only person that can remember him? Aliens did it. So out of nowhere, the movie takes this turn, and the explanation that we're given for the entire plot that we've been following is that aliens have abducted her son and caused everybody to forget him, and they want to experiment on people, and that's what you get. Very stupid movie, completely ruined by that horrible plot twist. And because of that ending, you're only going to see The Forgotten pop up on lists like this one. Moving on to number 3. The Village. So M. Night Shyamalan pops up twice on this list. Now, The Village was the movie that he came out with after Signs, and this was the movie where he really started his downward spiral into the joke that he is today. And The Village follows the story of a small, old English village. And it stars Joaquin Phoenix and William Hurt and Sigourney Weaver and amongst a few other actors. Bryce Dallas Howard, Adrian Brody was in it. And the plot of the movie is that it's this old English village, and it's surrounded by woods, and there's some monsters that live out in the woods. And as long as they follow some rules and they offer up offerings for these monsters, and they don't go out in the woods, then the monsters allow them to live peacefully in their little village. So pretty intriguing plot. And it does work for like the first 30 to 40 minutes. Then things take a big spiral downward. Turns out that these monsters that have been keeping everybody at bay in this village and keeping everybody in line are actually just the elders of the village, dressed up to keep everybody in fear. Now, if that wasn't disappointed enough, M. Night Shyamalan takes it just a step further into stupidity. Turns out that the entire movie has taken place in modern times, and everybody in this village has been brought there by the elders because they had some crimes and they had some losses, people dying in the cities that they used to live in, and so now they decided to keep everybody in fear and for some reason make everybody dress in old-time clothes and speak in Old English, go without proper medicine, proper education to avoid, muggings and bank robberies and, bad Facebook posts. Very, very stupid. So number 3 is The Village. Number 2 is The Number 23. Now, this was Jim Carrey kind of once again stepping out of his comfort zone in comedy and try to do something a little bit off the walls. He did it great in The Majestic. I was never a huge fan of The Truman Show, but a lot of people do like that movie. So Jim Carrey is capable of being a really, really good dramatic actor. So he figured, why not take a stab at horror movies? No pun intended. So The Number 23 follows Jim Carrey's character, and he's a dog catcher, and he comes across this book called The Number 23. And slowly he starts to obsess over this book. He starts to obsess over the number 23 in general. He sees it everywhere. Everything he sees adds up to 23. He sees 2 and 3 everywhere. The chapter 23 in the book is missing, and it just completely consumes his life. And then at the end, it comes into one of the most cliched plot twists that they really need to stop using in movies. The main character did it. So the story that he's following in The Number 23 follows a detective that murders his own girlfriend. And then it turns out that Jim Carrey is actually the main character in the book. So I'm going to let me just give you a rundown of what you're expected to go on believing after this plot twist in The Number 23. So the plot twist comes, and then this is the reality that you're expected to accept. Jim Carrey's dad killed himself, and in his suicide note, everything consisted of things adding up to 23. So Jim Carrey becomes obsessed with the number 23 because of his dad, regardless of the fact that his dad was a psycho. Jim Carrey stabs a woman who cheats on him, and he buries her in a park. Then he goes to a hotel, room number 23, writes a book about the number 23, leaves out the chapter 23, which reveals his identity, and puts it all over the walls of this hotel room. And he makes every 23rd word in the book clues that lead to that hotel room. Then he jumps off the balcony. He survives the fall, but somehow just suffers amnesia. So he forgets about everything. And then he finds his novel, which he wrote, and then he finds it in a bookstore with the author handle Top Secrets. Ooh, Top Secrets. Get it? And he becomes obsessed with the number 23 suddenly all over again. And then bit by bit slowly unfolds and discovers what he actually did. God, what a dumb ending. I was really hoping, because I saw how well Jim Carrey does in dramatic movies, especially eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, then he can show his dark side that he might actually succeed in a movie like this. But, before you even get to the ending, you're already getting a little bit impatient with the pace of the movie. But that ending is just one of the dumbest, most ridiculous, most asinine things that you're going to see in a movie. So number 2 is the number 23. Alright, topping out my list of top 5 worst twist endings. Number 1, the granddaddy of them all, Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Now, the original Planet of the Apes is known as having one of the best, most shocking twist endings in history. The movie follows Charlton Heston, and he's an astronaut. He crash lands, and then he finds himself on this planet where apes are in charge and humans are slaves. And throughout the movie, he's the only human who shows intelligence and the ability to speak. And he goes off at the end to try to get back to Earth. And he comes across the Statue of Liberty buried in the sand and realizes that he's been on Earth the whole time. And he's on a future post-apocalyptic Earth where humans have destroyed themselves through warfare and now apes rule. Like I said, it went down in history as one of the most shocking endings of all time. Then Tim Burton comes out with his little half-ass remake in 2001. And if everything leading up to the ending wasn't bad enough, Tim Burton actually has the nerve to try to top the original Planet of the Apes. So Mark Wahlberg is your main character, and at the end of the movie, he finds a spaceship and decides to go back in time to try to stop the apes from taking over. And he lands at the Lincoln Memorial. And he goes up, and somehow the apes must have went back in time even further to ensure their rule, because he walks up to Washington, D.C., suddenly he's surrounded by ape cops, and Thade, the main villain in the movie, played by Tim Roth, is now emulated on the Lincoln Memorial. So, Abraham Lincoln. The ending makes absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. You can't figure out, it gives no explanation if the apes went back in time before him. It makes no explanation if maybe he screwed up and went into the future, and this is just a future version of the planet that he was already on. It's ridiculous. So if the movie wasn't bad enough, the ending just drives the nail in its coffin, and thank God we got Rise of the Planet of the Apes to get that series back on track, because God, 2001's Tim Burton Planet of the Apes was dog shit. Well guys, that is the end of my top 5 rundown of the worst twist endings. Let me know how you like this list in comparison to all the other ones I've done where I go over all the best of things. As always, thank you for listening. Go ahead and like and subscribe on SoundCloud. If you have any questions or comments about this podcast, or if you have your own top 5 list you would like to share, go ahead and comment below on SoundCloud or on Facebook. And I will be back with another top 5 rundown next week.